On October 31st, 2008, a link to a paper written by a man named Satoshi Nakamoto is posted to a cryptography mailing list from a dark and unknown corner of the internet. The Bitcoin network is then established 2 months later, on January 3rd, 2009, when an unknown Nakamoto mines the Genesis block, the first block of the chain. The Times' January 3rd, 2009 chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks is a line that is embedded inside. This is a quote from a newspaper headline in the United Kingdom. Others see it as a criticism of the fractional reserve banking system, while some see it as a timestamp. In barely over 10 years, this amazing piece of code has gone from being worthless to a $1 trillion asset. Soon after, Nakamoto vanished and was never seen or heard from again. Throughout the first 7 months of Bitcoin's creation, Satoshi is thought to have mined as many as 1.1 million Bitcoins. This wealth, which is now more than $30 billion, has remained untouched to this day. Bitcoin has been backed by celebrities, CEOs, CNBC, and even Fortune 500 firms like Tesla as a genuine means of asset storage. Dorsey's Cash App, Venom, and PayPal are examples of payment apps that interface with the Bitcoin blockchain. After more than a decade of success, you'd think that people skeptical of the government, afraid of paper money, and open to new ideas would flock to an asset like Bitcoin. But there are still plenty of people who believe Bitcoin is headed for a zero, a worthless ruse created by a super bubble. Dr. Michael Burry is at the top of this list, stating unequivocally that Bitcoin is worthless and a biblical scale scam. To have a better understanding of his beliefs, I went through all of his tweets, which have since been removed beginning on February 1st, 2021, and went over each one that mentioned cryptocurrencies. But first, if this is your first visit to our Smart Stocks Academy channel, please accept my warmest greetings. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell right next to it to be the first to know when a new video like this is released. So if you're ready, let's get to the topic. Burry almost never gives interviews, so keep that in mind. I've looked and can't seem to find a single video of him discussing anything recent. He maintains a very low profile, and the only communication we receive from him is through his firm's 13Fs, which highlight his positions, and his Twitter, which he occasionally deletes. The good news is that his tweets are archived on other websites and Twitter accounts, allowing us to access them at a later time. To begin establishing his crypto thesis, we'll look at the first time he mentions Bitcoin in a tweet, which was sent on February 8, 2021. His impressions from the event formed the foundation of his entire viewpoint on Bitcoin, and he provided the audience with a different perspective on the entire subject of cryptocurrency. Burry is a skeptic, and if you recall, Tesla bought a chunk of Bitcoin earlier this year, and then swiftly sold it after Musk said he was ignorant of the environmental impact Bitcoin mining has. This was described as a strange occurrence that sent shockwaves across the crypto community. Elon, who had previously supported Bitcoin, had abruptly changed his mind, and this coincided with Chinese regulators summoning Tesla to account for alleged quality control issues. Something didn't smell right to Burry. Elon was a Bitcoin bull, and his company's purchase of BTC sent the price of the cryptocurrency skyrocketing. All of a sudden, they were selling everything they owned. Tesla's foray into crypto alarmed Chinese policymakers, and the CCP had virtually pushed Musk to sell. Even while he doesn't explicitly state that in a tweet, it is implied if you read it carefully. This tweet sparked a flurry of other bearish thoughts about crypto, such as this one from February 11th, which claimed that the global banking elite had every reason to crush Bitcoin because it is mostly mined in sanctioned countries, implying that Bitcoin faces many challenges in the future if it wants to work with institutions like the European Central Bank, the US Federal Reserve, and the International Monetary Fund. Then there's this one from February 21st, where Burry claims that Bitcoin would someday serve as a global standard, solving something known as Stephen's dilemma, sometimes known as Stephen's paradox, an economic dispute that many people blame for the 2008 financial crisis. You can research about it on your own time, but the idea simply states that if your currency becomes the global reserve currency, like the dollar is now, there will be more demand for it around the world. In a nutshell, ignoring all of the complexities and distilling it down to a few phrases, this causes the US government to run ever-growing deficits, producing a slew of issues, including a significant trade deficit. Many people feel that Bitcoin solves Stephen's dilemma. However, Burry points out that doing so requires high liquidity, citing the Swiss franc as an example of why this isn't possible with Bitcoin. To serve at that level, Bitcoin has a scaling difficulty. Following that, there are a slew of tweets that boil down to regulatory risk as a source of headwinds for Bitcoin. Governments throughout the world, he believes, will attempt to implement laws and regulations that may not benefit the coin because it is mostly uncontrolled. This is echoed in a tweet from February 25, summarizing Burry's thoughts on Bitcoin. In essence, he claims that the investment is riskier than it is profitable. A tweet that sparked outrage, prompting many to label him and other Bitcoin bears like Charlie Munger as out of touch. This is what Munger famously said about it.
Now that the crypto market overall is valued at $2 trillion, do you still consider cryptos as worthless artificial gold?
Well, I knew there'd be a question on Bitcoin or crypto. And I thought to myself, well, I've watched these politicians dodge questions all the time, and I always find it kind of disgusting when they do it. But the truth is, I'm going to dodge that question because we probably got hundreds of thousands of people watching this that own Bitcoin, and we probably got 2 people that are short. So we got a choice of making 400,000 people mad at us and unhappy, or making 2 people happy, and that's just a dumb equation. So I'm all right on that one, and maybe we'll see how Charlie is.
Well, those who know me well are just waving the red flag of the bull. Of course, I hate the Bitcoin success, and I don't welcome a currency that's so useful to kidnappers and extortionists and so forth, nor do I like just shuffling out a few extra billions and billions and billions of dollars to somebody who just invented a new financial product out of thin air. So I think I should say modestly that I think the whole damn development is disgusting and contrary to the interests of civilization. And I'll leave the criticism to others.
Regardless of your opinion, the Munger tape will go down in history. Burry had to say about people accusing him of being out of touch. Burry tweeted about Bitcoin 8 more times after this date, but I'm not going to spend the remainder of this video going over each one. Instead, I'll summarize my opinions with this tweet from February 27, which I believe is the primary pillar of his thesis. It says, "Fads today, BTC, EV, SaaS, and meme stocks are like housing in 2007 and fiber.coms and routers in 1999. On the whole, not wrong, just driven by speculative fever to insane heights from which the fall will be dramatic and painful. Frauds too, the WorldCom and Enrons of today." That tweet will go down in history, cementing his reputation as either a genius or a moron. At the end of the day, Bitcoin is a financial instrument backed by nothing and whose value is determined by human psychology. Burry and Munger, and all other big shots who despise crypto would wonder why these people aren't shorting it if they believe it's worthless. And the reason is that Bitcoin can go anywhere in the short run. In 1999, asking a hedge fund why they aren't shorting any of these .coms would be like asking a hedge fund why they aren't shorting any of these .coms. As momentum increases, it is certainly feasible that Bitcoin may rise to $100,000 or even higher. But after performing the research for this video, I'm inclined to believe more along these lines. Warren Buffett's response is lengthy, but it is certainly worth listening to.
Charlie said Bitcoin's like rat poison. You were asked about that comment, and you said, well, it's probably more like rat poison squared. Charlie went on in the meeting to then basically call Bitcoin turds.
He is an expressive sort, isn't he? Maybe when he gets a little older, he'll mature.
I just want to ask you about that because it sparks so much controversy, and particularly on Twitter and some of the places where you might expect people who are trading in cryptocurrency to be pretty loud about what they heard. What is it about Bitcoin that gets you guys so fired up?
Well, when you buy a farm, you look at the crop every year and what prices are, and you decide whether it was a satisfactory investment. I mean, you look to the asset itself and what it produces for you. When we buy a business, we look at what the business earns and decide how we feel about it in terms of what we paid. But we are buying something that at the end of the period, we not only have what we bought in the first place, but we have something that the asset produced. And when you buy non-productive assets, all you're counting on is whether the next person is going to pay you more because they're even more excited about another next person coming along. But the asset itself is creating nothing. One of the interesting things, for example, is gold. If you go back to the time of Christ and you look at how many hours of labor you had to give up in order to buy an ounce of gold, and you take it forward to now, you'll find the compound rate maybe 1/10 or 2/10 of 1%. And then you have to insure it during that time and make sure somebody doesn't steal it from you and everything. But it doesn't produce anything. And productive assets, you can pay too much for a productive asset. But I bought a farm in the 1980s, and every year we look at how much it produced the way of soybeans and corn. And at the end of that period, I've still got the farm, and I've gotten some significant income off of it. Apartment house, operating business. But if you and I buy various cryptocurrencies, they're not going to multiply. They're not going to be a bunch of rabbits sitting there in front of us. They're just going to sit there. And I got to hope next time you get more excited after I bought it from you, and then maybe I'll get more excited and buy it from you. And actually, we could sit in the house by ourselves, and we could keep running up the price between the two of us. But at the end of the time, there's one Bitcoin sitting there, and now we got to find somebody else. And they come to an end. I mean, those.
That's a greater fool theory. That's what you're saying.
Well, yeah, it's buying something because you expect the pool of people who want to buy it because they want to sell it to somebody else will grow.
People enjoy speculating, and he enjoys gambling, which is exactly what Bitcoin is. As a business owner, you must ask yourself if you even know what you're holding. Is it possible to explain Bitcoin to a 5-year-old? I'm willing to bet that you won't be able to. Since 2017, I've been on and off about cryptocurrency, but I believe it's finally clicked for me. I'm drawn to it not because I believe in its future, or because I comprehend its potential, or because I believe that crypto technology will transform the world. Rather, I'm expecting to sell it for more than I paid for it. It is a weird magic box that I do not understand, and when you have it, you tend to ignore the tweets and videos that critique and point out all of the flaws. You start to live in an echo chamber, only hearing good things. To me, the analogy is straightforward. This is no different than any other speculative bubble in history. Humans used to pay top money for tulips because growing prices attract new purchasers, a circle that can't endure for a long time, attracting more and more people via greed and FOMO, until the rug is finally pulled out from under them. And with that, today's video comes to an end. If you haven't already, hit the like button below to show your love and support for this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button below and turning on the notification bell next to it to be the first to know when a new video is posted. Thank you for stopping by to watch, and we hope you had a great time. We hope to see you again on our next video.